Hey there, it's another beautiful day. Let's watch some stuff.
Frozen waffles have now been recalled due to listeria contamination. When I tell y'all I'm so tired of talking about listeria, and there's a lot on the list, I'm gonna show y'all exactly where you can find it. Treehouse Foods announces voluntary recall of certain waffle products due to the potential for listeria monocytogenes contamination. The FDA published this on October 18th. The reason for announcement is potential foodborne illness, listeria monocytogenes. The company name is Treehouse Foods, and there's multiple brand names that are under this recall, but the product that we are actually talking about are frozen waffles. So Treehouse Foods is voluntarily recalling certain frozen waffle products listed due to the potential to be contaminated with listeria monocytogenes. Listeria monocytogenes is an organism that can cause serious and sometimes fatal infections in young children, frail or elderly people, and others with weakened immune system. The recall products were distributed throughout the United States and Canada and packed in various formats under the brand names listed below. Consumers and retailers can identify the UPC code on the back of the carton and the lot code and the best by dates of these products on the end of the carton. This is a website right here that will take you to the photos of the products that have been recalled. I also have a link in my bio that will take you directly to this website. There have been no confirmed reports of illness linked to the recalled products to date, but anyone concerned about an illness should contact a healthcare provider. The issue was discovered through routine testing at the manufacturing facility. Consumers should check their freezers for any of the products listed above and dispose of them or return the recalled product to the place of purchase for a credit. If you have any questions, you can contact the company right here at this number. So just to recap this recall, this affects the United States and also Canada.
I am just as tired as she is about talking about listeria. Now it's in frozen waffles, so make sure you check your frozen waffles. We don't want anybody getting sick.
Eat less meat, we could significantly reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. Human engineering could help. We could artificially induce mild intolerance to meat by stimulating our immune system against common bovine proteins. And in this way, we can create an aversion to eating eco-unfriendly food. And we can do this, for example, by having meat patches, kind of like nicotine patches. People can then wear these patches before they go out for dinner to curb their enthusiasm.
So Coca-Cola sells 100 billion single-use plastic bottles that comprise up to 50% of the plastic waste that ends up in the oceans. But Matthew Lau, a bioethicist at NYU, suggests we all wear meat patches? Come on now.
That makes me think of Plum Island. We've talked about Plum Island before. They used to do animal research there with diseases and stuff, and a bunch of their ticks got out, and that's how Lyme disease started, supposedly. And there are also those ticks that when they bite people, they render the person like allergic to bovine meat. So they must have isolated whatever that little toxin is that causes that reaction in a person. Otherwise, they wouldn't be like, hey, we could just wear a patch. So I don't know if they're going to be like, put it in the water and then everybody doesn't want to eat meat anymore. I don't know.
Did you know that UFOs might have tampered with nuclear weapons in the United States and Russia? Imagine unidentified flying objects shutting down our nukes without anyone pressing a button. Sounds crazy, right? But that's exactly what former military officials are claiming. And if it's true, it changes everything we think we know about national security. Picture this. It's 1967, Malmstrom Air Force Base, Montana. In the dead of night, multiple Minuteman missiles suddenly go offline, completely shut down. The kicker? A bright glowing object was seen hovering right above the base at the exact same time. Coincidence? The military crew didn't think so. They were on high alert, scrambling, but no one could explain why their most powerful weapons were suddenly useless. And it wasn't just the United States. In 1982, at a Soviet missile base in Ukraine, a UFO allegedly triggered the launch sequence of several nuclear missiles. Yup, you heard that right. Nuclear missiles almost launched without any human command. Alarms blaring, lights flashing, soldiers in panic mode, and then the sequence just stops, as if some invisible hand pulled the plug at the last second. Here's where it gets even more insane. Military officials from both sides, US and Russia, have come forward saying these incidents are real. They've got the credentials, they've got the rank, but they also have something that might make you skeptical. Zero hard evidence, just their word. So is this the biggest cover-up of all time, or are these just stories cooked up by conspiracy theorists? Now let's ask the real question. Why would aliens care about our nukes? Some believe they're sending a warning, a message that we're playing with fire. Others think it's just an experiment, like pulling the batteries out of a toy to see what happens. But if aliens can control our nukes, what else can they control? Are we really safe, or are we just pawns in some intergalactic game? Now, before you dismiss this as just another UFO tale, think about this. Dozens of military personnel from multiple countries have gone on record about these events. They're not all crazy, right? So why is no one talking about it? Why are governments so tight-lipped? Are they afraid of admitting that we're not in control, that someone or something else is calling the shots?
Thanks again, Randy, for this fantastic piece of information. With all of the drone activity that we're seeing over our military bases over the last year, maybe they are, alien. Maybe they're trying to deactivate our nukes because they know what's coming. Or maybe it's been the enemy all along and they're deactivating our nukes. Maybe we should be shooting them down.
This fish didn't come from the ocean. It was grown in a lab. It's cultivated meat, also known as lab-grown, cultured, or cell-based meat. It's real meat, not fake meat like plant-based protein. The difference is that it's been grown from cells in a lab and not in the actual animal.
It's basically just what nature does, just growing the cells, and we're just giving them the ingredients to actually grow in a healthy way.
This isn't the stuff of science fiction anymore. The tech is now being used to produce all kinds of seafood. That could help alleviate environmental issues like the depletion of fish stocks, health issues linked to fish like microplastics and mercury, and also animal welfare concerns. But it's not yet in the supermarket.
The availability of it in small amounts might come soon, but the availability in every supermarket in the United States is quite a ways away.
Singapore is the only place in the world that currently allows the commercial sale of cultivated meat. Could this be the future of seafood?
If I was eating something that was not an actual animal, I don't think I'd want to know. No, actually, I would want to know, and I wouldn't want to eat it because that's unnatural. It's just unnatural. Yes, they can dance. They're also making them do a different kind of dance. I don't know. I don't know how to respond to that. I guess they're taking everybody's jobs. Nobody's job is safe. We're all going to get replaced by robots.
He said, so FEMA's the enemy? Martial law is declared. FEMA can come into your home, take your stockpile, and redistribute it to people who are unprepared. Let me show you how to prevent it. Here are the first things you should do if martial law is declared. Outfox FEMA. Here we go. They could look to confiscate private property to redistribute to the less prepared in the community. There's ways to hide your stockpile, how to stay completely off the government's radar, a foolproof operational security guide. If the U.S. is ever hit with a major crisis like an EMP and the grid goes down, you're going to want to have a copy of this book. Here's what a 3-month stockpile looks like. And here's everything you need to know about a ham radio, which will be the only way you'll be able to communicate. This book was written by Joel Lambert, a 10-year Navy SEAL vet. This is a Navy SEAL's bugging guide, and it's how to turn your house into the safest place on Earth. This is a fantastic resource. I think everyone needs a copy of this.
That is interesting. I was unaware that FEMA was able to do that. You'd think in those situations, obviously, they'd go to the grocery stores first and then redistribute whatever the stores have available to the people in need, depending on the situation, obviously. I mean, I don't think they're going to come knocking down my door for my extra pound of ground beef. I don't know.
In 1897, the small town of Aurora, Texas, witnessed an incident known as the Aurora Incident, often seen as a precursor to the famous Roswell incident. Residents claim to have seen a cigar-shaped airship collide with a windmill, resulting in an explosion. They recovered a badly disfigured non-human pilot from the wreckage, speculating that the pilot might be from Mars. However, the incident's credibility is heavily debated. Reports from the Dallas Morning News documented the event, but critics have pointed out inconsistencies and lack of evidence. Investigations revealed discrepancies in the narrative, such as the absence of the windmill and the pilot's burial site. No physical evidence remains, as the tombstone with a drawing of the airship was reported stolen. Skeptics argue that the incident was a hoax, while UFO believers consider it a genuine event.
Of course they said it was a hoax. They got some backup story real quick. Once that alien sighting hit the newspapers, they're like, oh geez, scramble, must cover butt. Yeah, they come up with something, right? They've been covering up aliens for way before that, I'm sure.
This news just coming out, the United States Air Force is loosening recruits' body fat requirement to 26% BMI for men, 36% for women to try to boost recruitment. Will it boost recruitment? And if so, Could it hurt, though, when it comes to fighting in a war if the troops are not physically fit?
I've actually heard that multiple branches of the military are loosening their requirements as far as physical fitness, which I think is a huge mistake. But at the same time, I understand it because such a small percentage of our population would meet those requirements anyway. So if they just loosen them up just a little bit and hope to like pop them in shape in boot camp or something, I don't know what they're trying to do in that situation. It's a little concerning because of the way that our existence is going, I suppose.
One that I read about was a DARPA one called the Eater robot. It uses biological material as fuel, which means if
you're kidding, you're kidding.
No, I'm not
Jesus
kidding. EACR. This is going to be able to eat dead bodies in the field and use it as fuel.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Oh, good. That sounds like a fine thing to develop.
Just can imagine an army of robotic, armed, artificially intelligent things,
corpse eaters,
that eat corpses in order to have fuel to continue to kill more
Well, someone's
people.
obviously imagining that.
It's made.
Sometimes DARPA has some really cool stuff. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit morbid, but that's kind of cool. It's gross. It would never happen because I don't think you're allowed to desecrate the bodies on any battlefield. I think that's kind of like in the Geneva Convention or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, please.
She writes, DARPA has a major program doing CBW for the military and has a lot of branches. They are developing a wide range of hyper-deadly neurotoxins and pretty way out DNA-altering nanotech stuff to alter our DNA, where you would swallow it or they would inject it intravenously, I would think. You should look into DARPA. They're the top of the research food chain. Working with them was scary. This is a retired PhD lady scientist who worked with DARPA, for DARPA, and other scientific agencies. I want to repeat that. They're the top of the research food chain, DARPA is. Working with them was scary. I'll tell you about it. Folks, are you get ready for this? She goes on. Of course, they can't come right out and say their ultimate purpose is actually to repel a planetary invasion that is currently in progress. It's a PhD level scientist, retired, that used to work with DARPA. That's too serious of an issue to raise until we have some sort of solution to offer. And when that time comes, it will obviously have to be carefully controlled. Now, this is a woman who's telling us that DARPA's real mission, the real goal, is to eventually repel a planetary invasion.
Now remember, DARPA is at least a decade ahead of anything us as lay people know about as far as technological advances and science. They must have some kind of other intel going on that obviously we don't know about and probably won't for a very long time. They know something's happening and something might be coming and they're preparing for it. Maybe.
It's official, guys. Walmart has removed the self-checkout counter from my store. Now, the only people who can use self-checkout is Walmart Plus members. Now, mind you, I'm the crazy one, right? I'm the crazy one, right? This company that has hundreds of billions of dollars is now charging you a yearly fee to check out your own groceries. And now, as the lines are longest down the store, they're not going to pay more employees to work. They're not going to pay more to work. They're not going to give employees cash registers that work and are updated and efficient. Every time you come, you try and work with a cashier, they're standing there trying to get the machine to work. And now you have to pay a yearly fee, and it's not even like it's cheap like Costco. It costs more than Costco. Like on the Walmart app, it's saying, see if you qualify for 50% off of the $49 a year. So it's $100 a year to check your own self out. Clown world.
Self-checkout has always been weird to me. I mean, I'll use it when I have just a handful of items, just boop boop and get out. You think that would be passed on to the customer somehow, because now that company is saving the money because they don't have to hire an additional person to check out. But no, absolutely not. Now at Walmart, you must pay an annual fee in order to check yourself out. That's just another money grab.
So just as I come to a close, unfortunately, I think this is just the beginning. So I've learned when people tell you what they're going to do, don't ignore them. So when the UN and Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab tell you that they've got a UN 2030 plan with sustainable development goals, I think there are 17 or 21 of them, and every one of them says you won't be traveling, you won't have a private car, we won't be using international shipping to move goods around, there won't be any flights except military or perhaps very rich people. You won't own anything. You'll be happy. You probably won't live in your own house. You'll be using much less energy for everything, including heating, manufactured goods, and so on. When they tell you that, you should assume that they're serious about it. And so I think COVID had been part one of a multi-act play that's going to take 10 years that will destroy the liberal democracies completely. We've already, if you think living in a democracy, now ask yourself who you could vote for that would change this, because I don't think there's anyone you can vote for anywhere that is guaranteed. So I don't have an answer, but I'm telling you, I think we're sliding down through the gates of hell. I'm speaking out. There's nothing in it for me. I've lost lots of money, all my friends. I'm away from my home and family, and I'm speaking out because I am absolutely sure what I've told you is substantially true.
If you're unfamiliar, that's Michael Yeadon. I'm sure I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. I'm sorry. He is a scientist and he was the vice president at Pfizer. And when the whole pandemic thing was going on, he was like, nay, these are not necessary. Don't do it. And he got in a lot of trouble about that. But this is one of those straight from the horse's mouth situations. He knows what's going on. And if he's saying that, hey, they're telling you this is going to happen, believe it, I'm going to believe him. I mean, I believe it's going to happen anyway, whether he said it or not. But still, just another little nudge in that direction.
Something tells me that big food, big pharma, and big agriculture are not going to like this.
That's why today I'm repeating my pledge to establish a panel of top experts working with Bobby to investigate what is causing the decades-long increase in chronic health problems and childhood diseases, including autoimmune disorders, autism, obesity, infertility, and many more. We want every child in America to grow up and to live a long and healthy life.
I believe it. I absolutely believe it. He's got my vote. I certainly hope that does happen. And I know how much Kennedy has been an advocate for children and the crap that the government is allowing in our food. So yeah, absolutely. Let's go.
This is a dried parasitic insect that you eat every day. Well, how is that possible? Well, watch closely. If I crush a small pile of these insects, scoop them up, and pour them into a vial of warm water, the water turns a deep red. This is used as a red dye under the names cochineal extract, natural red 4, E120, and carmine color. Carmine color is listed in the ingredients of this candy. So this candy gets its color from crushed up parasitic insects. Guess which of these products have parasitic insects in them? They all do.
And a whole lot more. And anything that has a shiny coat on it, we've talked about it before, it's shellac, and that's made from the lac beetle, and it's crushed up mucus and excrement from the bugs. It's gross. It's really gross. That's why I only eat meat, eggs, and butter.
Do you know why, if you look at pictures from 1977 backwards, there are no overweight people. Do you know why? Because they used to eat fat. They used to cook in lard. They used to cook in butter. They used to cook in animal fat. That's what they used to cook in. In 1977, the sugar companies lobbied the politicians. They used a bogus study to state that fat was causing heart attacks, strokes, and heart disease. They lied, right? They took out fat from all the food in 1977. Guess what they replaced it with? Sugar. That's when everybody got fat. From 1977 on, they've replaced the food with sugar. If you look at pictures from 1977 back, you cannot find an overweight person. You can't find it. Why? Because they ate a proper diet. Dig into it. Research it. That's all I got.
So, my entire life, I've been a heavy person. I've always been overweight. And as a child, we learned about the food pyramid. And at the very top in the tiniest little box was that fat. Don't eat the fat, right? I remember being with my dad at the grocery store and I wanted yogurt. I was like, I'm going to get the low-fat yogurt so that I can stop eating so much fat. Maybe I'd stop being fat. But he said, no, you don't want to do that. Look at the nutrition facts. And yeah, it has lower fat, but they just put more sugar in. And he pointed that out to me, and I remember that when I was a child. And now I eat as much fat as I want, and this is the healthiest I've ever been.
The initial question was why are we in all these wars and who's making these decisions? Well, in 1992, we promised that Gorbachev, when he disbanded the Soviet Union, that we would, after reuniting NATO, East and West Germany under NATO, we would never move NATO even 1 inch to the east. Since then, we've moved it into 14 new nations, 1,000 miles to the east. Why do we do this? Here's the reason why. When a new nation enters NATO, the contract requires it to conform its weapons purchases to NATO specifications, which means billions and billions of dollars for Lockheed, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, and General Dynamics and the other military contractors. Who owns all of those? One company, BlackRock.
It's money. You'd think BlackRock has enough money. They frickin' own everything as it is anyway, but no, they want to do a farther eastern expansion. NATO's like, okay, let's make it happen and give more money to BlackRock. That's basically what it is. BlackRock needs more money. They don't have enough.
Ultra-processed foods did not exist before World War II. We needed to have shelf-stable food for soldiers and things like that we could ship, and so there were maybe some good intentions there, but then there was an opportunity there that got seen. And we can also, weaponize the feminist movement against, being in the kitchen, you're a slave, you don't, that your value's outside the home, you need to climb the corporate ladder. Here, have this convenience food that we basically made for soldiers, and we're going to tell you that this is actually your liberation. So of course we got people not cooking. Families aren't eating together anymore. Kids are eating 67% of children's calories now are ultra processed foods. These means foods that come from a factory made by food scientists, not just processed, ultra processed, the highest form of processing, 67% of calories.
I know we're talking a lot about food today, but it is a huge point. The food regulation in America is an abomination. There's so many poisons going into our food. It's terrible. It's just a money maker. That's all that it is. Chemicals to make you want to eat more. And then you get addicted to it. And then you get sick and you get medication and you have to pay for that. And it's just a vicious cycle. More attention really needs to be brought to this situation. Okay. Good girl. Good girl. Pay. Good dog. All right, Dingo. Oh, nice. Those are my good dogs. We sat on the couch yesterday and ate an entire bag of chicharrones. Those things are so good. On that note, I'm calling it for today. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me, please. Come on back tomorrow. We're going to watch some new stuff. I'll say different things, and it's going to be fantastic. Until then, have a wonderful day.